If you are not ready to work, hustle, kill, then please leave.
Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Savage Excellence Podcast. I am your host, Tristan Nelson, here with my co-host,
Will Hardy.
We are both competitive bodybuilders and coaches. Within the podcast, we preach having standards of excellence in both our mental, physical, and spiritual health, as well as what it means to operate like cutthroat savages who starve for success. Here we march as a single unit down God's narrow path. If you guys find value or entertainment from this episode, please rate, comment, and subscribe. Let's get to the episode. Will, how you doing, my bro?
Pretty good.
It's going to be a pretty good episode here.
Yeah.
You want to talk to him about what we got on the menu for today?
Yeah, so we're kind of just thinking about this, but essentially I kind of wanted to bring up like burnout. Essentially like the hidden cost of chasing greatness, chasing, whatever you want to be successful in, whether it's bodybuilding, coaching, or general entrepreneurship. And it may even be spiritual goals as well. Yeah.
Do you want to talk to us a little about the burnout you've been experiencing?
Yeah, I was kind of just mentioning it, Tristan, on like kind of when I got here. This last week has just kind of been, I don't know, it's just more kind of like what I noticed was like obviously we pulled down back to tier 2, right? Mm-hmm. About 2 weeks ago, and that's kind of right around that's 2 to 4 weeks is kind of where it's supposed to kind of kick back in, and you're supposed to have a little more hormone fluctuations. I'm new to the whole like process of just like getting off of a cycle and all doing this, so it's kind of all new to me. But I think that in combination with just like the pressures of trying to be an online coach, dealing with family stuff, as well as just trying to make ends meet, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think all that eventually, like I was supposed to do like a show with my mom, and I was just late, and I just was getting down upon myself, and she left without me or whatever, and I was just like, it was just like a learning moment for me where I just got to be more on time. But it was more a learning moment of like I just had like a really good talk with her, and I kind of just talked to her about burnout. Like it's just, and it's funny how like God teaches us these moments. Like I was telling you before, like we literally just had that mental health awareness podcast, but I can't even take my own advice. And so I think it's just like a constant like struggle within yourself where it's like, yeah, you say this, but you actually enact this. You know what I mean? So it was just kind of like a learning process, and the last week has just been kind of ups and downs. And kind of just trying to get back to normal again and climb that ladder back to where I was. But I think it just comes down to a lot of things, but it's more just being able to notice that before it really starts happening, and just being able to talk to someone about it. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and I think that's something really important to mention is burnout isn't actually from too much work on your plate; it's from feeling overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really important that we have that certain day, like, kind of we talk about with our Sundays to help us kind of reset, to have that day where we can kind of step back from that, but then also game plan for the next coming week.
Yep.
So we can take on that work much more effectively. You know what I mean? So, yeah, because I know it kind of gets put out there, like, it's like, oh, I just have so much on my plate, I'm feeling burnt out. It's just like, humans have endured quite a bit of work and struggle, and
exactly.
Had the even choice of saying, hey, I'm in an internment camp, I've been overworked, I've been feeling pretty burnt out, sorry guys, I have to take a couple weeks off.
Yeah, exactly.
Paid vacation.
Yep.
But it's like, it's the more feeling that you're just overwhelmed. You know what I mean? So what are like some signs that you notice maybe creeping up ahead of time that you're like, all right, I'm starting to feel burnout?
I think the biggest thing last week was like, all right, well, I noticed that I was kind of just starting to like maybe actually just get more like irritated about certain things not going the way it should. And just like maybe because the one example was like just like me getting pissed off my computer for like not being fast enough. It's like it's such a small thing, but it was just like I needed to get that video uploaded, and it was just more of like what I kind of really felt creeping up on me was like I just need to get these tasks done. And I think like a biggest sign is to kind of notice like when you're starting to kind of jump up and you're constantly living in that kind of like, I used to call it like the red zone, where you're just like set off by anything, you know what I mean? Or like maybe your mood's starting to kind of have some issues maybe. That's kind of what I noticed, and I've noticed in the past too.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely notice whenever I'm just really going after training a lot, or I haven't been feeling so much burnout like physically, but I've been feeling it a lot more overwhelmed mentally, just like with the stuff we've kind of talked about in here, and just like it's just a lot mentally. But the way I've been kind of trying to deal with it is, through meditation and seeking peace, through prayer, things like that. Just trying to make sure that we keep the routines that help us kind of stay grounded in place.
Yep.
Is super crucial. It's hard for me to kind of identify the signs of burnout beforehand, but I'll definitely notice. You just start to become a little bit more and more emotionally reactive.
That's kind of what I was trying to get at, was essentially like that emotionally reactivity to like just like the small things too. Yeah. Which is like the computer, or just like or even just like if you notice yourself kind of just getting irritated by something your friend says too. Like I didn't deal with that, but I've noticed like other people like, or I've heard about it, like if you can kind of start to notice that, like that's kind of a sign as well.
It really just comes down to as well your just ability to take on stress, which is why it's so important that we do hard things consistently. Yeah. Because the more hard things that you do over time, the ability of stress for you to take on will increase. Yeah. Whether that's bodybuilding or business, if that's, you got to be able to be efficient too, to make things less overwhelming. So like within coaching, I'm trying to standardize the ways that I do like updates to people's plans, so that I'm not having to be overwhelmed of like, shit, it's going to take me like 30 minutes to make this one little update and then an hour to do this one update. Whereas like, if you can be more efficient with your time, it's not going to be as overwhelming of like, all right, this will take me 5 minutes. All right, this will take me 5 minutes.
Creating those systems.
Right. Yeah. And like, we've been kind of talking about utilizing timers in our day. So instead of me thinking about like, fuck, I got this whole list, I'm trying to like squeeze this in, and then I don't know about you, but sometimes like whenever I start a task, then I start thinking about like how I got to do another task, and like, I got to start
you start overthinking about it, stressing.
Now I'm just starting tasks, but I'm not finishing the tasks. Right. You know what I mean? So it's like starting a timer of like, okay, for this 20 minutes in this timer, I'm doing nothing but this one task, and I'm not stopping till this timer goes off. Yep. And that's been really, really helping. I know both of us to just help get shit done.
Yeah. I think that was the other thing too, is that's actually a sign I just realized now, like, looking back, like, because I was pushing things further back in that day, that kind of had that like just huge, realization of burnout. Like I was pushing like my normal tasks back further into the day, and so it's just causing more stress to build up, because it's like I know I got to get those tasks done.
Yeah, and because I didn't work in 2 hours.
Exactly. It's like procrastination. It was a bit of that, and just like because I wasn't in my normal routine. Yeah, I think that's like a big part of it. Like when we're trying to do as much as we're doing, we have to have routines for it.
Yeah, and the quality goes down too when you procrastinate, because now you're not going for the best product, you're going for the fastest, quickest. To get the check mark there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Which plus it's like I just notice so much less anxiety and stress and burnout when I am getting my shit done. Which is why I think it's also super important that we set. You ever heard of SMART goals?
Yeah. My dad used to talk to me about them.
Yeah, and I think they're super legit. I think perspective is so key in so many different ways. If you can make one task of 20 things be one task instead. So, for example, I try to reach out to new people every day and set consultation calls so I can like grow my business, right? Yep. So instead of me saying, I've been kind of trying to shift my perspective of like, maybe instead of trying to start 20 new conversations, I need to book one call. Yep. So instead of me now trying to have to do 20 things, I have to do one. Yeah. Even though like realistically it might have to do like 20 things to get that one thing done.
Yeah.
I still only look at it as like one thing to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So like, you can
that.
try to shift that perspective with different goals. I don't know if you have any like kind of like mental tricks you like to do with things. At the end of the day, you just got to do it. But,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. I think that's actually a good one. I actually probably need to start looking at more like that too, because I think when you start to break down goals, it can make it harder for your mind, like in the sense that like, all right, now I got to do all these other things just to get this one thing done. Whereas like if you're like, all these things are this, like I'm just getting this done, like I could see how that could make a big difference.
Yeah. And well, something like, for example, within that example of said 20 DMs, like one call, what's like the real mission at hand with these like conversations? Is it to just start a conversation, or is it to book a call? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like
setting an intention.
I'm not trying to just send 20 texts and like, all right, cool, I sent 20 texts. Like the goal here is to get a call. So it's like so just being very specific about like what you're actually trying to achieve through your goals for like your bigger vision and purpose.
Right. Yeah. That's huge. I'm trying to think of other things. I feel like it's gonna come to my mind as soon as we like go off this topic. But yeah, I guess I want to kind of shift topics more towards, kind of what we talked about like on one of the podcasts one time. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but it was like the whole idea of like just grinding by yourself and just doing this alone, and how like that can really play a part in like just stressing, overthinking about stuff and burning out. I think that's a big reason why a lot of, people who are attempting to be successful burn out at such a fast rate, is because they're doing it alone, and they think they need to do it alone, and they're overthinking their own heads. So what do you think as far as that topic goes? Like, what do you think like might be like the biggest thing, like the biggest red flag within that that topic?
The biggest red flag in
just like grinding alone.
Just how much weight feels like is on your shoulders at times, especially like within coaching or anyone that's like an entrepreneur, I would say, is you're kind of wearing multiple hats at once. So you're trying to kind of do multiple jobs at once, and trying to make sure that the ship stays afloat and that you're not dedicating too much time to one area. Because if you're trying to build a business, you are the business in a way. So you need to make sure that you're developing yourself first. Because if you're not growing, your business isn't going to grow.
Right.
But then you can't just only focus on your growth. Otherwise, your business isn't going to grow.
Exactly.
And you got to not only work on the business on the inside, you got to work on it also from the outside.
Right.
So you got to work on yourself, your business from the inside and the outside, and all of those encompass different levels and areas of growth. And it's, I'm not on here to bitch and complain, and it's not like, as a business owner, like coaching is very easy compared to other businesses.
Yeah.
Like there's no overhead costs other than like a laptop, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like we actually have it really, really good, but it's still not easy.
Right.
And I definitely kind of feel that burnout sometimes when I'm like, all right, I got to make sure I'm learning about coaching. I got to make sure I'm learning about bodybuilding. I got to make sure I'm being a bodybuilder. I got to make sure I'm showing up for my athletes, making sure that each one of these athletes feel like they're being prioritized. Make sure I'm doing my content. Make sure that my content's improving.
Yeah.
My business on the inside is improving. It's just like, holy fuck.
It's a lot. Yeah. Well, I think you touched on a good point there too, with like not just putting too much into one area. And I think I've kind of realized that, like, that was my big realization throughout this week, was like, I'm focusing on so much content, which is like, it's supposed to be fun. And like at this last week, it's almost felt like a really big chore. And that's been like a very big source of some of the stress, because it's like, the content's not going to directly lead to you getting like more sales. It's more indirect, because people like have just heard of your name. Like what my dad told me, like, we had a good talk yesterday, was like, a lot of it's just kind of like going to come from referrals. So like focusing more time on the internal part of the business, on the back end stuff, where it's like you're not just giving a good service, but you're providing, and you're going above and beyond in that service. Because if people like feel like they're paying for, a good service, but it does definitely feel like they're kind of paying a lot. they're not going to refer you, right? If they feel like they're just paying,
they're getting
like,
coached at the minimum.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
What's required. Yeah.
You know, if you're going above and beyond and providing a next level, just a whole different level of like education, you know, value, like to those clients, like there's more likely of a chance of them going out and spreading the word, and getting you more referrals that way, and then that takes the stress off of your shoulders from having to like put more content in. And that was kind of what my big realization was this week, was just like not going too far into one area, like you said, because it's easy to just go down that rabbit hole and then you end up overthinking every single video. And I think that's kind of where a lot of people, especially in coaching, I feel like can go wrong. And like that's where the whole guru stuff comes from, because like they only focus on their marketing, but their back end of the business kind of just sucks.
Yeah, and I mean, burnout's a scary thing, because when you feel burnt out, at least for me, I feel like I start to lose my passion and drive for my work.
Yeah.
Within bodybuilding, coaching, and then once I lose my passion there, I spiral down really fast.
Yeah.
I get depressed really fast. I get more anxious about things because I know, you know, like without that one thing, nothing else is going to be like moving forward.
Right, exactly.
And it can be very hard to pull yourself out of that state. And then you can end up being burnt out for months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you're like, fuck, now you're just kind of watching everyone surpass you.
Yep.
Or making more progress than you, and then now you're just feeling more depressed. I also feel like the devil is a big part of burnout as well. Something I was kind of listening to in a podcast is whenever you kind of start to hear that voice of your head of more like the mediocrity, the bitch in your head.
Yeah.
The bitch voice of, you know, like, hey, it's okay. You're tired. You've got 2,000 steps left. You know, it's already late. Just go to bed. But, you know, in the other side of your voice, what I like to think of like God's voice. Like your consciousness, almost like the drill sergeant in your head of like, you need to get this done. You know what I mean? Like, this is one of your goals that you know you need to get done, and it matters to get done. And what I try to really remember is that in my head that helps me kind of like pull myself out of that burnout is, am I going to take a step toward God, or am I going to take a step back towards Satan?
Right.
Through these thoughts of mediocrity. Because the more that you give into the thoughts of mediocrity, the louder they get.
Yeah.
And the harder and harder it is to hear the voice of your head of like what your true potential is, of the person that's the hardest, best version of yourself, God's voice.
Yeah.
And
it becomes harder to dig yourself out of that hole you've dug.
Just gets harder and harder. So I think that's something I'm trying to really work on myself, is that when I have these periods of like burnout, is I almost try to look at it as like a challenge of like, okay, take a step back. I'm starting to notice these behaviors. Maybe, you know, old habits die hard. I'm starting to see maybe some of these old habits I don't like come back. Look at myself in a third perspective of like, is these actions going to get me to be the man I want to be?
Right.
Is this the kind of man I want my kids to look at me as?
Yeah.
Is this the kind of man my kids are going to respect? My future wife will respect? That I respect, God will respect? I think a big question I've been asking myself more is God currently pleased with my level of ambition? And if the answer is no, then I look at it as a challenge of how fast can I pull myself out of this state, and how fast can I start sprinting to get to my full speed again? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not going to let the devil win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dude, that's so relatable, because it's just like, I literally think that the same way when it comes to those situations is like, just like reminding yourself of like that why, reminding yourself of like, do you really want to see this potential be wasted because you see yourself spiraling down this? Like, think about what God's watching. Think about what your ancestors are watching. Think about the things that like that inner fuel that just makes that passion burn, and helps you realize like what you're doing, like it needs to stop. It needs to go back. It needs to go back to where you feel like you're on track. You know what I mean? Dig yourself out of that hole before it's too late.
Life is either going to be like easy and then get hard, or you could do the hard shit now for your life to be easy tomorrow.
Yeah.
And one of them feels really fulfilling and the other one doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And another great quote. A big inspiration of mine is Bedros Keuilian. I love to start my day off listening to his podcast.
Yeah.
I just feel like he just tells it to me how I need to hear it.
Yeah.
And something he kind of says too is he looks at himself in the perspective of a camera being on him at all times, with live footage, live audio being directed right at towards his kids and his wife to see what decisions and what kind of man he's being at all times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's something like very powerful. You know what I mean?
That actually reminds me of something that I kind of heard yesterday. Was like, I was sitting in my car and I was just thinking about like, all right, you know, I really low key just want to go home right now, and I was just like, I just heard like, you know, even though the camera's not rolling, you gotta keep rolling.
Yeah.
And it was just cool because it was like, it kind of related back to that where it was like, you know, for a lot of us, right, like we're doing content, especially like, you know, if you've got a camera in front of you, it seems like you have to kind of almost portray this image. Yeah. But like you have to be yourself and you have to just keep doing what you said you're going to keep doing. And that's kind of what I heard from that. And that's kind of what I was relating it back to with like Bedros Keuilian, because like you have to always just think about like are you doing the things necessary to just keep propelling you forward? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think a lot of it starts with how your morning is.
Yeah.
Because I notice my day is greatly dictated by the level of execution I start my morning with.
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot about it, so we don't need to dive into it, but it's like, it comes down to standards. Standards, like what kind of standards are you living out within your day? Do you have good standards, bad standards, or excellent standards? And I'm a big believer of how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing that's important to me is making sure my environment's clean. Because I almost always notice how clean my environment is almost a direct reflection of where my mind is. If it's dirty, my mind's going to be a mess.
Yeah. I've noticed that too, actually.
Yeah.
That's why I'm always just trying to look around my room and like, when I'm feeling stressed, like, and I look around my room, I notice like there's a couple things I could have done around this to kind of make it a little more tidy. And as soon as I do it, like I feel way better.
You feel accomplished, you feel organized, you feel professional.
And then you're just like ready to go.
You feel clear-minded. Exactly. And I like to be super kind of picky with it. It's like, I like to make sure every little crevice, everything like that is perfect.
Yeah.
Because, again, how you do one thing is how you do everything, and it's about the standard of excellence.
Yeah.
So, how you start that morning with is how you're going to carry over into the bodybuilding habits, the business habits, the character habits. That's something that's just super, super important to me.
Yeah, I kind of want to just touch into a slight topic change, but I was kind of curious how, I guess, with like PEDs and like, I guess, I mean, you're not on blast right now, but when you were, do you think that PEDs could have some sort of influence on maybe masking like that burnout, maybe physically or mentally?
Honestly, for me personally, I feel like it helps with burnout for me. Because I feel like I just feel more motivated and ambitious whenever. I will say I do struggle with like lust more, just because of like the high libido levels.
Right.
It's harder in that sense, but everything else, dude, I just feel like an animal all the time.
Yeah.
However, the one thing I will say that gets hard when blasting is with training, because I just feel like there's some training sessions I just don't know when to quit. I just kind of feel like, I kind of just black out sometimes, and it's like I could just train for hours, and like we've done that together, like 4-hour leg days, and like brutal 4 hours straight, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But it's not like a genuine feeling. It's like the PEDs talking, and then I feel that in my body later of like, yeah, my body was done 2 hours ago.
Yep.
So I definitely feel it that way. Like I can get physically burned out with PEDs, but mentally I feel great.
Yeah, I think I'm about the same there. Because I don't know if this is directly correlated, but because like I when I did notice like this kind of downtrend, I wonder if it was like me also trying to keep that to grasp onto that same like mental to just like go 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 like with like now my cycle's ending. And I wonder if like that just having on TRT had like an influence on that at all. But I feel like that's also like part of the mindset just alone though. Like it's not just the PDs that are helping the mindset. It's like the mindset you develop without the PDs. You know what I mean? Like it should be the same either like without or with PDs.
Yeah, agreed. I think you can tell a lot about an athlete I preach this to my athletes a lot, is how well you can ride the midline. Mm-hmm. That's something one of my previous mentors used to preach, is...
The midline being what?
So, following the midline is making sure that you always stay poised as an athlete, and you never let your emotions get too high or too low. Like, you just always stay calm, collected, stoic. Because whenever we ride these super big highs, that's when our ego starts to take over and we think that we're better than we really are. Mm-hmm. We start to treat people around us differently for that, or maybe even ourselves. And we kind of just get this like God complex almost. You know what I mean? But then if we get like too low, then that's when maybe we start noticing I kind of start noticing more of like burnout symptoms, is when I notice I'm getting in my low state.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. I almost feel burnout from not doing enough.
Yeah. That's kind of how I felt when I ran into that, yeah.
But riding the midline is always being like, it's a 24-hour rule. So say we're doing a bodybuilding competition and you get first place overall. Awesome, dude. Like, you just crushed it. This was a goal you've been working for forever. But you can't just walk around with that huge high 24/7.
Right.
For the next like 5 years.
Right.
It's 24 hours celebration. Eat what you want, which you haven't been able to, celebrate, but then it's right back to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's riding the midline.
Yeah.
Instead of like riding a high horse thinking you're so good that you don't need to train as smart or be as dedicated because you're the overall champ, bro. Like, you're too good for it.
Right, exactly. Well, that brings in a huge topic too, because Nick has always been a huge inspiration with this, and I've heard him talk about it too. But like treating like a health phase as if you were still in a blast or if you're in prep, and that's something that I've kind of thought about, because it's like, just because gear doesn't go down doesn't mean that training has to go down. Doesn't mean that your habits have to go down. You got to keep that same stuff, because keeping the same mentality is going to help you keep the same like muscle mass, or close to what it was, and because like your overall goal is to keep as much muscle mass as possible, so that when the next cycle happens, you're getting more muscle on top of that. So that's something I'm kind of treating with like this, is like, obviously, like I brought up the idea to Nick doing like a mock prep or whatever. He didn't like fully shut down the idea. Like, he wants to still get me shredded, but I'm in my head, I'm treating this, this time right now as if I'm in prep, right? Everything's got to be on locks, and that mentality, like that whole burnout check last week was like a check of my, test of my mentality. Like, is this like, do I need to adjust some things? And so like that, like being able to just be like, all right, we're on lock with everything, not missing like I said before, the supplements, the meals, and the cardio, but also like just starting new habits of like just getting back into reading more, and just always trying to constantly improve that mindset, because that's going to correlate to better training sessions. Even though you might not be in your best physical form, you're in the best mentality. So that mentality is going to carry you so far. You know what I mean? And the way I think about it is like, obviously I'm not in prep, but I'm putting my situation in like my brain in like I'm in prep, because if I can do this, right, prep is going to be so much more easy.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not even ashamed to admit this, bro. Like, I'm broke.
Yeah.
Right? I'm broke. I'm dealing with all these other like issues. I'm trying to start a coaching business. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm trying to bodybuild. But all these like things that are trying to drag me down, if I'm staying up here, I'm riding that midline out, like that's gonna make me such a better bodybuilder and a better businessman.
Yeah, dude, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's a brutal sport, but it's one that's, dude, this is what I love about bodybuilding, is it's such a key foundation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of discipline, work ethic, grit, passion. I've been reading this book on peak performance, and it just really kind of talks about how important all of these different aspects are of having this passion executed by action daily.
Yeah.
Long term, years on end, builds grit.
Yeah.
And grit is one of the most powerful traits that you can have. And dude, I just think that's so powerful. Having grit nowadays is like, it's just something you don't find in most people anymore.
No.
But yeah, dude, I love that.
Yeah, I think it's
Kind of
important.
corresponding. But kind of want to talk about how you been kind of dealing with today with like the social media aspect of, 'cause sometimes you can get burnt out through like comparison through other people.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing, I have noticed periods in my life where I've kind of been, drawn where it's like, damn, like almost like that body dysmorphia thing. Like it's a true thing. It exists out there. But I think it stems from like the social media aspect. And I think a long time ago, I kind of dropped that whole mentality of like, the biggest one was just like staying off social media more. You know what I mean? And not always just looking at your Explore page or scrolling through Reels all the time and looking at the craziest physiques, because, it's easy to compare yourself to others. And, you've heard it time and time again, like comparison is a thief of joy. Because the only person you should be comparing is yourself, right? And if you're constantly and we all know how bad like the whole like what's the term going around, physique inflammation. Yeah, physique inflammation. No, not right. Dude, I'm fucking blanking the word. Inflammation. No. That's
Inflation?
Inflation. God, I'm so stupid, bro. That's the last little bit of test exiting my brain. No, physique inflation. But that was like the term I was trying to get. But like I think we've all seen like those crazy 18-year-old, 19-year-olds that are just like. It's like, damn, bro, like you look like a professional bodybuilder. Yeah. It's easy to compare yourself to that.
Inflate your ego.
And I think you just gotta realize, like, take a step back, realize where you came from. Maybe look if you're really feeling like that, you're not having that confidence there of you've made progression. Like, take a look back at a couple years ago when you started in the gym, some pictures that you have in your phone, and then realize like you've come a far way, and then try to envision like what your ultimate physique could look like, because I think that also gives us motivation too. Because like there's got to be a goal at the end of the day, but you have to also ride on the same side of enjoying the process. You know what I mean? Because that's truly what's going to get you to go to your goals and avoid burnout.
Yeah, and even comparison of yourself.
Yeah,
that's been honestly a big thief of joy for me.
Yeah.
Is since I haven't really been able to be in the gym as much, eat as much, not pushing as much PEDs, I don't look on the same level nearly as much as I did like 4 weeks ago. You know what I mean? And sometimes like when I'm scrolling, looking for a photo, I'll see those photos, I'm just like, damn, looked a lot better then. You know what I mean? Even though it's not like maybe day and night to someone like on the outside, to me it's like I see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I honestly like, I don't know if you've done this, but like, it's kind of just like almost an imaginary game you're playing, right? If you can kind of almost convince your mind, like, dude, like, see, like that, I used to look like that, and maybe I'm not right there right now, but like, dude, could you imagine like that picture but 20 more pounds of muscle on it, dude?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like those little games you're playing with yourself where it's like, yeah, I might not be there right now, but could you imagine this but double? Like, just like constantly just looking at like some kind of goal in your head, of just like, yeah, like you said, like just being able to keep striving forward but enjoy the process at the same time. And maybe like, I think we kind of touched on this last week too, but enjoying like if the gym is like kind of been stalled, right, through progress, and I had a period where it was stalled through progress because I had to heal my gut last year, and that was when I just found different things in my life to keep me pushing forward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I'm doing right now is, even though I can't really focus on building or like looking the best I ever had, I'm not just a bodybuilder, you know what I mean? And I have other things I can work at being better in. And honestly, I'm kind of thankful for, it's been humbling, this experience of things like my faith and just relationships with those around me, just a different perspective on life in general, how important health is. I feel like sometimes like, as we're younger in bodybuilding, it's like, oh, health, it's like, I'll worry about that 20 years down the line. Yeah. But it's like, dude, without your health, you're nothing.
Yeah.
Like literally nothing.
Exactly.
And there's nothing more important than your health. And I feel like that's something that, like taking care of your health doesn't sound very sexy. And until you realize and you're forced to actually address it, and you're like, fuck, I wish I would have taken care of this when I should have, like when I didn't want to.
Right. And there might be situations where, you might be in that situation, and because you didn't take care of it at an earlier rate, now you have to reap even more consequences. Maybe you literally like are forced to be out of the gym for 6 months instead of 2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, like that's just like certain ramifications of, delaying onset health procedures that are necessary.
Yeah. Well, get your blood work done.
Dude,
like
this is a whole nother rant. We're starting a whole nother podcast.
It needs to be said, man.
It truly does.
Because there's so many health metrics that, like, there's so many things out there that you could have, but you just don't even know it unless you get your blood work done.
Well, dude, this is actually, I was gonna post something, a story about this yesterday. I didn't get a chance to, but I mean, dude, there's so many kids that are my age, your age, like in this age range that are like blasting these PDs or these SARM goblins, and it's like they don't even they've never even heard the word blood work, like blood work. Because I was literally talking to a kid last week. He's like, "Do you have to get blood work done for this? Like, I didn't know you had to do that." Bro. And I'm like, "Are you serious, bro?" And it's just like it's more and more people reaching me out to me about this stuff, and I'm like, "This is insane! Like, you're blasting all this these compounds," and it's like I had to send multiple voice notes last week of just me saying explaining listen, your body. You have to think of your body as a car, right? If you're not checking the oil, if you're not changing the oil, that engine's going to explode. You know what I mean? And so it's the same thing. If you're not getting your blood work done, you might not know or even have a clue of what's going on internally in your body. Even though you might feel physically fine,
right?
That gear is going to provide almost just a mental sense, oh, I'm fine. Yeah. Because it's the whole thing of boosting that ego. And I think that's a lot more guys probably struggle with it than maybe females. Yeah. With the whole ego aspect, but it's huge, man. You gotta get that stuff done. Otherwise you're gonna, like we said, suffer major consequences later in the future. And maybe you're just about the lifestyle. Maybe you want to blast gear and you want to, I don't know, get more women or fulfill something that you weren't able to do before. Yeah. But it's it still doesn't mean that you should just be throwing your life away.
Why don't you want to take care of your health? Yeah. If you have better health, you're going to have a better physique. Exactly. And that's what you're really after, right? Right. So get it done.
Exactly. People don't realize that, your a healthy physique is a responsive physique.
And hire a damn coach.
Exactly, bro.
To check your blood work with you. And that can help guide you in the necessary steps to help you maximize your health. Someone that's going to actually keep you accountable. Right. And Man,
I mean, I literally had a kid reach out to me who was like, I was telling him about the side effects of like this compound, and he's been injecting it in his body, and he's like, dude, like I didn't even know that, like I didn't even know like that would exist. I was just told like it's fine. I can just take it and I'll be more hungry.
Bruh.
Yeah. And so it's just like, dude, that's the other thing too, is like they don't have the knowledge. Like if you don't have any knowledge of what you're putting into your body,
yeah,
hire someone who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So they can at least give you some knowledge and help you out. Or reach out, dude. Like there's plenty of people out there like me and Tristan who love just giving. We don't want to see this stuff in the community anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Go to my Instagram, fill out an application. I'll help you out.
Yeah.
All right. We've talked
enough of that talk.
Pretty.
There was just kind of like a rant we both need to get out of us because,
Yeah.
bro, it's just I see it happening so much.
This shit can kill you, bro.
Yeah.
Like being so for real right now. Like it sounds so awesome to have big muscles.
Yeah.
But it's cool to have when you're alive.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know? And it's no joke, bro. Like so many people die of PEDs, and some of them are keeping track of their health.
Right.
And still having these. Take me.
Yeah, exactly.
And the symptoms can be serious in a matter of a blink of an eye. Mm-hmm. So don't take this shit lightly. Mm-hmm. And start with the minimum, absolute minimum of shit. Mm-hmm. And then slowly increase it to where you need to be. And once you find that threshold of like, all right, now you're noticing more and more symptoms, then scale it back to where you're noticing the minimal amount. Yeah. And just keep it there. Because it's all about like, people just think like more equals more. Mm-mm. And that's just not how it is. So you like.
Well, I mean, you take this for example. All these people that are reaching out to me are all telling me like they've increased their doses, and it's like, have you increased your food? Have you actually started training? Yeah, have you started training harder? And it's like the answer is like to both those questions is no. Like they don't do any of that stuff, and they think that the drug it comes down to the whole. You take the pill, and it's the magic pill that makes everything better. And it's like, no, it doesn't. It's always it comes back to the habits. It comes back down to the basic meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
If you're not eating meat and potatoes, you're not going to go.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, that's probably enough on that subject. We can kind of probably move on. I kind of wanted to bring spirituality back into this topic of burnout. How do you think God has, I guess, helped you, in some of the hardest moments, or what were some of the hardest moments where, if you feel comfortable with sharing that God's helped you with?
Mainly right now, like I kind of mentioned on some of the recent podcasts, just dealing like with these hard issues, a lot of unknown, a lot of anxiety, a lot of pretty much daily panic attacks, which is, literally feeling like you're about to die at a moment's notice, which is pretty much the shittiest feeling in the world. But, like some days I feel great. Some days I can barely breathe and I feel lightheaded as shit. I can't think. And it sucks as someone that's obsessed with peak performance. Mm-hmm. And like I was kind of saying, like with the comparison of knowing I've been in a much, much better spot, there's nothing I wish I could do more than to just go absolutely ham on a hack squat right now. Yeah. You know what I mean? But if I did that, I'd be fucked. You know what I mean? Right. And like the harder I go in the gym, the more I pay for it tomorrow and the next day. And it's been really hard to deal with mentally. That's what I was kind of saying. Like more of my burnout's been from not being able to do as much as I was. Right. And, as someone that's been bodybuilding for close to a decade, I try not to attach all of my happiness to bodybuilding, but when I can't get in the gym, I get depressed really quick. Right. You know what I mean? Which I think a lot of gym people could probably relate with that. Yeah. But it's forced me to take a step back and focus on the areas of growth I need to pay attention to that I've been neglecting, which is like my faith, my relationships. I don't know if I'd say neglecting, but could just be improved with like family and friends, business, all of those things that could be improved. But the biggest one is with God. I think, I had this really, really great conversation with one of my neighbors here next door.
Yeah.
I was walking down by the park just outside my apartment building, and I ended up seeing him there. We talked for probably a good hour about God and how he gives us divine crosses in life. And are you familiar with those?
Maybe keep explaining.
So, and I'm pretty new to this too. I'm not a religious expert by any means. He kind of explains to God gives us divine crosses as pretty much a gift of hardship to become closer to him.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
And he said he's had like 3 in his life. One where he pretty much snapped his leg in half and got compartment syndrome. And like he kind of walks around a bit more stiff. But he's an awesome dude. And he's probably one of the most passionate people about God that I've ever seen. And it was super cool talking to him in the park because he was just talking loud and proud about God, like just did not give a shit who heard.
Yeah.
And it wasn't to a point where it was like obnoxious, you know what I mean? But just so much passion. And he told me about some other experiences, 2 other ones he'd had, more like mental struggles he had. And I was kind of just talking to him about everything that I've been kind of experiencing with this. And he's like, it sounds like God's given you a cross, brother. And
yeah,
dude, it shifted my entire perspective of like being a victim to, dude, this is an honor. You know what I mean? Even though it sucks.
Yeah.
But you can either make these times in your life like destroy you or become something great if you allow it to.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of it is uncertainty right now. You know, some days I walk around knowing I really hope I wake up when I go to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Which is, that's honestly pretty heavy for me.
Yeah.
But I pray. And like I tear up a little bit honestly right now because it's like, it's tough.
Yeah, man.
But I try to look at it as a challenge for me to take on that God's giving me to grow from, not to concede from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I always remember like this one saying of like, God will give some of the stronger battles to his hardest soldiers. And that's something that's always for me, it just resonated where it's like, I still do once in a while, but I used to pray for just harder battles.
Yeah.
Not because like I wanted to prove myself or something like that, but it was more just like I want to grow. Because I know in these battles, like in the hardship, like that's where true growth happens. And when God allows that, it shows like that. It creates a more of an intimate relationship with you and him, because you're having to depend on him more, and you're having to, you know, go through something that, you know, he went through obviously like a million times worse, you know, why dying on the cross for us. But it's like you're physically showing, and you're being able to experience a fraction of that pain, and it's a bittersweet, beautiful feeling.
Yeah, dude, Jesus went through so much trials and tribulations, and like that's been one of the cool things, reading more of my Bible and just learning more about faith in general. Is just like how much he went through here on earth, and like even just before the point he was crucified, like dude just got whipped repeatedly. Like most men would have died after like 4 or 5. Bro endured 39. And then carried a cross. Carried a cross.
Well, it's just like it comes down to this, like like.
But one sec.
Go ahead.
Imagine getting whipped, like filleted open with a whip. 39 times to the point where like your flesh is just like hanging open. And you take a heavy ass cross, walk with it. I don't know how long it was, probably miles. Up onto a hill where nails are nailed into your hands and feet, and you're hung there to pretty much die with criminals. And the fact that like he did that just for us, you know what I mean? And that's just like one of the trials and tribulations like he went through. To mention like the 40-day like walk through the desert and shit like that. It's just like, man, I don't got shit to complain about.
Well, what I was gonna make a point of is like, if Jesus just didn't experience any of those trials and tribulations before the cross and just went straight to the cross, it would have been a way different story. He would have got whipped a couple times, probably would have passed out, and wouldn't be able to carry the cross out, it would be a different story. But because he's built up all that resilience and that strength from all those hardships, it's not just the physical strength, but it's the mental strength of going through that. It resembles the same kind of thing when people are going through these hardships in their own life. Like, you're building up resilience just like Christ did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, man. And something I just wish people would understand more, something that I've come to realization more is, I feel like almost sometimes whenever you talk about God or faith, people kind of like, ooh, cringe. Like, let's not talk about that. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's just like
it's
almost a stigma.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's built into society for a reason.
Yeah, and I just wish people could see the true beauty and strength and power behind having like a strong connection to your faith. Mm-hmm. Something like I've really been opened up to more is whenever I'm like truly living in the steps of Christ, like, and I'm really like repenting every day, mm-hmm. and trying to just be more and more like him every day, like, you start to feel, you start to become more like him. You're not going to become like him, right, but like, you become more like him.
Yeah.
And that feeling, I think, is the reason like why we are here, is to live out that purpose of living in his light and spreading his light. Mm-hmm. And just like the confidence, the self-respect that mm-hmm. you get from living through God, mm-hmm. it's unbeatable.
So much greater.
It's true masculinity, in my opinion, mm-hmm. or femininity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, do you want to kind of close this episode off with a prayer?
Yes. Let's go ahead. This is something that we want to start doing at the end of episodes, is just a little prayer together, because mm-hmm. Savage excellence, or excellence even in general, is multifaceted, meaning we want to be excellent, not just in the gym, but mentally, physically, spiritually, everything. We want to take it to the highest level because that's what God wants us to do. Mm-hmm. And so we want to start leading by example, and we're going to end off these podcasts with a prayer. Mm-hmm. So if you want to join us with this, that would be awesome. God, we just pray for this awesome podcast and for the people that are listening, that you show them what your love and strength and power is truly like. And I hope you show your light to those who haven't experienced it yet. And God, I just pray you help keep us in a state of repentance instead of temptation and indulgence, and help us to realize the power through delayed gratification in your name. And God, I just pray for the battles you give us, that we thank you for them through the men and women that it makes us to be through the other side of those battles, and how important that they are for the growth, and that you give them to us not as punishment, but as opportunities. And God, I just pray in your name.
Amen.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Go ahead and, if you guys liked this episode, give it a like, subscribe, comment. You guys can follow me at Trist_Nelson on Instagram.
You can follow me on Instagram at will.hardy1, or just search up Will Hardy on YouTube, and you'll see the latest mass class.
Hell yeah, guys. Take care. God bless you. Peace out.